But we're getting set for the V8 Supercars. Non-stop action here. They're about to roll off the line, and we return to Greg Rust, Mark Osler and Barry Sheen, who might have their own theories about what happened to Christian's car.
Well, Woodsy, you'll be pleased to know your replacement wig is on the way, mate. We've been in contact with them, so you'll be looking fine for the rest of this afternoon's telecast. The Rat, can they beat him? Unstoppable at the moment. Was so quick in the last round of the Shell Championship, Mark, and dominant this morning.
I think that was, in fact, the remainder of the nylon straps that the cars carry inside their suspension arms to stop the wheels getting ripped off in accidents, and looks like it's done its job there.
It's nice to know that the kart ones work as well as the Formula Ones do, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. It's saved a lot of dramas since they installed those. A lot of very tough fibres there, and you can see them strung out, very much looking like a wig, Billy, in the suspension arm of the Lola. Here they come now. V8's back on track for race 2 of the FAI Insurance V8 Challenge. Garth Tander joining us again in commentary. Gee, the weather looks like it's pretty tough today, Garth. That tailwind has got very strong, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it's actually, I was talking to a couple of guys, and they're saying it's blown a lot of sand up onto the back straight as well. So it's something else for them to play around with if the concrete walls and the curbs aren't hard enough.
Here's how the grid looks for race 2. Radicic and Ingle on the front row. Scaife and Lowndes on row 2. Barkwana and Larkham on the third row of the grid. And Longhurst and Brad Jones on row 4.
Keep in mind these starting positions are from finishing positions from race 1. And if you see their qualifying positions in those yellow boxes down the right-hand side of the screen, you get an idea of how they're going throughout the day. Paul Wheel, for instance, qualified 18th, moved himself up to 9th, so he's having a good day.
Neil Crompton qualified 13th, 16th. He'll start in this one. Larry Perkins and Romano on row 9. Tratt, young Tyler Mecklem in the TDK Ultra Tune Commodore out of row 10. Ashby and Christian de Gost in row 11. Rodney Crick and Cameron McConville, the 12th row.
John Bow, in fact, will not be making the start. We hear that some rubbish blew into the engine's cooling scoop on the front spoiler, overheated the engine, so the Cat Ford will not be taken to the track in race 2.
Gee, he's had a rotten year, JV, hasn't he?
Just another victim of this debris that's blowing around at Surface Paradise. Very strong northerly wind. There's a lot of dirt, dust and chip packets and everything flying everywhere just down in pit lane. Very, very strong winds.
I tell you what, if you've sold eye drops, you make a few bucks. It's so much grit and stuff.
Yeah.
God, it's horrible.
I reckon I've got a couple of spoonfuls in there now. So here they come. Renew hostilities. The V8 Supercars, 4.5 kilometre Surface Paradise street circuit, one of the most spectacular you'll find anywhere in the world. An amazing setting. Here's Mark Larkham going in-car camera, Mitre 10 Ford. Scored his first Shell Series heat win earlier this year at Calder. And of course he was the man who just set the track on fire at Mount Panorama last year. Took that surprise pole position. And he's building up, car looking in good form. Only 4 weeks away from the FAI 1000 at Mount Panorama.
Neil Crompton carrying another of our onboard cameras, the Ford Livet camera. Got a busy weekend so far, Cromley. We'll be joining our commentary team tomorrow for the Honda Indy 300 as well.
Well, there's no doubt about the dominant force on the streets of Surface Paradise is Dick Johnson Racing, the local team. They've won 8 of the 12 races held here so far. 4 by John Bow. The other 4 by, of course, the Rat, Paul Radicic. So Radicic now perfectly poised to increase that score. Make it 5-4 the battle with John Bow for the most race wins on the streets of Surface Paradise, driving a Dick Johnson prepared Shell Ford. Great shots here. Marvellous carnival atmosphere. Wind might be blowing, but the sun's out. It's a beautiful warm day.
Yeah, proper surface weather again now.
Well, locals tell me it's been blowing a gale here for quite a number of weeks.
Well, it has, but it only started, we've been waiting for rain for 3 months, and then it has to start the day Indy starts.
Great shot there. Gives you a panoramic view. You can see the main straight they're coming onto now normally serves as the southern side of the Gold Coast Highway. It now becomes the high-speed pit straight, or main straight if you like. Comes past the pit areas, the corporate areas.
It's going to be interesting to see if Ingle gets away first this time, if he's going to be as nice.
I wouldn't think so.
No,
He got a bit of a ribbing from the boys.
Did he? I bet
so.
Sean got stuck into it. Yeah, absolutely.
So, I think we'll see the old enforcer back in this one.
So, I bet Sean got stuck into it. Yeah, absolutely.
I think we'll see the old enforcer back in this one.
The drag race for the start. That's what happened in race 1, and Russell just managed to outbreak the Rat, but it was a dogfight from there on in. The revs start to rise. Race 2 in the FAI V8 Supercar Showdown here on the streets of Surface. Away we go. The Rat gets a blinder of a start. Russell trying to stay with him.
No,
But the Rat has got the run as they head towards turn 1 for the first time. The Red Barons in tow. Scaife and Lowndes. Bargwanna is also there like a magnet with them at the moment. But the Rat will lead them through the first chicane.
Well, he knows how to get that.
Oh, Rip Jones.
Now, can he get away without too much damage? Oh,
40. Oh, dear me.
that was the third of the Gibson Motorsport Commodores there.
Barry Perkins.
Prepared by driven by Rodney Forbes, I should say. Brad Jones gets back in the action. So that's 3 Commodores from the same stable copping some damage this weekend. Boy, it can be bad for some teams and glorious for others. Paul Radicic enjoying himself at the moment.
Tell you what, Cromley should go out and buy himself a lottery ticket, shouldn't he? He's avoided that one today and the earlier altercations, so...
Well, it's about time. It's you've got a bit of clear air, wouldn't it?
Exactly right.
A bit of luck, more like it. Oh, look at this, a Paul Wheel.
And that is rotten luck for the local driver who'd been showing some good form here in these V8 Supercar races. A top 10 finish in race 1 in the brand new, or virtually brand new K&J Ford. They debuted that car last weekend at Sandown. And of course, this weekend has actually opted to step into the spare car for safety purposes, Garth.
Yeah, he's actually sold that one to Dean Canto, and Dean's picking it up tomorrow night.
Let's have a look at the replay, Garth. Oh, a bit of a nudge from Paul Wheel.
You don't know. I mean, he could probably, by the looks of things, everyone was leaning on everyone. And away you go.
Oh, ouch.
I was surprised they all made it through that first chicane, the first one. I didn't know that they'd do it the second race.
Rodney Forbes gets a hammering right along the side of his car. Let's have a look at this again. Wheel and Jones. And I think Brad Jones is very, very lucky when you see the damage that's happened to cars that have got caught out in that chicane.
Longhurst, so cold. Pretty lucky through them.
He got away very lightly indeed.
They are treacherous opening corners, aren't they?
Big pack of V8s thundering down to this funnel. All sorts of things can happen. Let's have a look at this on the inside. Neil Crompton. And watch how he gets out of this. Oh, which way do you go? Left, right.
Well, that's just the problem. Because of the walls, you just don't know where to go. You've got nowhere to go, and all you've got to do is minimise the amount of damage that you're going to sustain in that sort of incident.
And you've got a 50-50 chance of getting it right, haven't you?
Well, you have. Either the hole will open up or it'll get closed very quickly.
So Paul Radicic, under safety car conditions, is allowed to avoid that chicane, drive straight ahead and allows the crash crews to get on with the recovery of the K&J thermal car. And once they get this car out of the way, we'll be able to return to green flag racing conditions.
Damage doesn't look too bad, Garth.
No, it looked a lot worse from that other shot, but it looks like hopefully Paul might be able to strap himself back in and get back into it.
Well, we're under safety car conditions here on the Gold Coast. The Rat leading from Russell Ingall. Then it's the HRT duo. More V8 Supercar action coming your way in a moment. Nice to have you with us wherever you're watching Network 10's coverage of Honda Indy on the Gold Coast. This is race 2 of the V8 Supercar Challenge, proudly brought to you by FAI Insurance.
Got a great battle here too. Now looks maybe deceiving you. Brad Jones is not leading this race. He had to peel off after the crash damage he incurred at the chicane. They made some repairs. He's come back in just in front of the field.
He's going to get a lot of television coverage.
See, yeah, Paul Radicic flashing his lights, telling Brad Jones to get out of the way. There's a steam train coming through, and the Rat is playing a lone hand here. 1 forward against a train of Commodores. Look at them, 1, 2, 3, 4. Up behind the Shell Falcon, so Radicic is going to look for a nice clean pass on Brad Jones and hopefully put the Aussie Mail forward between him and the Holden pack.
Craig Lowndes at the moment sits in 3rd position there. Your Honda race score shows you he's ahead of teammate Mark Scaife. Jason Bargwanna staying in touch. The thick of things now. The enforcer will want him out of there nice and quickly.
That's right off of Russell's Christmas card list if you don't get out of the way.
No, giving everyone racing room. Perfect. He's a lap car.
Very good.
That's the right sort of behaviour. So Brad Jones lets the leaders charge through. Paul Radicic all on his own at the front with the enforcer in close pursuit. Mark Scaife, Craig Lowndes, Holden Racing Team duo. There's Jason Bargwanna, Mark Larkham, Tony Longhurst, Craig Baird. finds himself up in the top 10. Stephen Johnson, Steve Reed in there too.
It's early days, Garth, but it looks as though Bargs' car is staying more in touch with the guys in front. Has there been some changes made between race one?
Yeah, we made quite a few changes to Bargs' car. It was struggling to put the power down coming out of the slow second gear corners, so we changed the rear springs and changed the shocks. And yeah, it looks like he can keep in touch with the HRT cars. We need to find a little bit more by the looks of things maybe for the next one.
And did you change the springs and shocks yourself, Garth?
No, I let the guys do it. They don't like it when I do work on the car.
There's your sense of
I just thought you had nothing
being
else
part
to
of the
do.
team.
It's when you walk around with that bit in your hand and say, well, what about this? Where does this come from?
I had a shock absorber left over. I didn't know what to do.
Russell Ingall is under siege here from Craig Lowndes. He was monstering the curbs through the Foster chicane just moments ago. And Lowndes has pulled a car length clear on his teammate Mark Scaife, who's also under attack from Jason Bargwanna. The Rat is the man who is in command out in front.
Boy, they've got that Ford working well at the moment. It's one thing to have horsepower, but you've got to be able to put it to the road. This Shell car's chassis, Garth Tender, seems to be working particularly well around here.
Well, yeah, and the Shell cars probably at the start of the year really weren't that good at putting the power to the ground. I know Paul was complaining about quite a lot, so they've obviously managed to turn that around. And in a place like here at India, it's the most critical part of setting your car up.
Do you think the change to the Ford front bumper has been crucial in helping that?
Oh, look, I think from what the Ford guys are saying, that they're saying it makes the car less sensitive. I mean, that's the problem they seem to be having is either the car was excellent or it was really bad with the old front splitter. Now it seems more consistent, and they can go from track to track and not have to completely re-engineer the car.
Because the general consensus was that no matter what you did with the car, it didn't seem to make any difference.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know Paul was saying that it was very pitch sensitive, and that means had the angle of the front splitter, and now with the common under tray, it seems to be that they could run it pretty much how they want and then set the car up around that.
Russell Ingall in the Castrol Commodore, the 36-year-old, originally born in the United Kingdom, spent his growing years in Adelaide in South Australia. Oh, look at him get sideways under brakes, almost locked up the rear brakes on the turn-in to Wellcome S's. Stephen Johnson locked in a battle here with Craig Baird a little bit further back in the pack. Stephen Johnson up to 9th from starting 14th on the grid, so he's on a real charge, the Queenslander.
I think some of the guys in the DJR pit might be scratching their heads because this is a real turnabout in form for Stephen Johnson. He's been languishing by his own standards well down the order this season. The car he's driving is the car that Paul Radicic has been campaigning for most of the year. Paul, of course, in a new car, and it seems to be helping.
Yeah, hope things work out for the team. Paul Radicic driving that brand new Shell 18 Ford that was debuted. All problems here for Larry Perkins.
Oh, Larry.
That's Russell Ingall, isn't it? No, it's Larry. It is Larry.
That's down the back of the pack. He's got smoke pouring from the back of the car. Look at the damage on the front as well.
Ding of the wall, but it looks of it.
Do you think they're differential problems, Garth?
No, I think he's just he's narrowed his Commodore a couple of inches on one side. So he's used the tyre barrier to do it.
It's incredibly hard to distinguish these cars now that they're the same paint scheme. On board with Neil Crompton.
Yeah, good move here. Under brakes coming down to the Wellcome S's.
Yeah, I have to say with that paint system thing, it was much better when...
Oh,
look at that.
That's what was going on.
Looks as though Larry tried to come through on John Faulkner as well, but unsuccessful. There's Christian de Gostin, and his race looks like it's over for the day too.
That's a shame. The Commodore Cup competitor has done very well in the lower formula, having his first taste of V8 supercar racing on the streets of Surfers Paradise. Not the way he wanted to finish the day. Here's the battle for the lead, though. Craig Lowndes cannot get past the Enforcer no matter what he tries. And you can just see there in the cold air intake at the front of Russell Ingall's car, a chip packet, some sort of rubbish caught there, just an indication of how much is blowing around the streets here with this gusty northerly wind. Let's have a look at this again. Look, Larry behind. He's locked up the brakes. And he's sandwiched himself between Faulkner's car and the wall.
Yeah, you run a lot of rear bias on the car, on the brakes here because it's so bumpy. And say it looks like it's just maybe caught Larry out a little there.
Can you explain that to the people at home, Garth, why you would run a lot of rearward brake bias on a bumpy circuit? What's the advantage?
Well, it's to stop the front wheels from locking up, because when the front wheel, with the engine and all the weight over the front of the car, the car bounces a lot and it just unloads the front wheel and it'll lock up. So you just have to run as much rear bias as you can take. And it looks like Larry might have had a little bit too much rear bias.
More than he could take.
0.9 of a second, the gap between our leader, Paul Radicic, and Russell Ingall, who's in second place there. Now we'll keep an eye on the Enforcer's progress. There's a bit of rubbish, as Mark mentioned, in the front splitter area of that car, and that was what was responsible for John Bowes' demise. They had engine problems. The car overheated at the completion of race 1, and he is a non-starter in this one in the Caterpillar Ford.
So Paul Radicic continues to punch out fast laps. Fastest man on the circuit, though, this time around is Craig Lowndes, a 1:54.27 for the Holden Racing Team driver. Look at him trying so hard to close the gap to the Enforcer. Not able to do anything about it, though. Single file at the moment. He's trying to set Russell up for an overtaking manoeuvre.
Looks like Russell's pulling out a bit on, well, he's catching up to Radicic.
Paul Radicic, the Ford hero, really has been toward the end of 2000. That dominant performance at Sandown last weekend. Now he's well in command on home soil. 37-year-old Kiwi international from Auckland, New Zealand. Former factory driver with Ford and Peugeot. And there's Larry out of the car. So he's taken an early break from proceedings. Paul Radicic looking in quite dominant form. The approach to Mount Panorama.
Change for Mark Scaife in this race. Doesn't seem to be able to stay as in touch with Craig Lowndes as race 1.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, maybe they've tried for a different setup, because you have to be take into account when the Indy cars go out, they leave a lot of rubber down, so the track changes considerably every time you're on it. And he might have just gone a little bit the wrong way in his suspension settings.
Well, Craig Lowndes' aggressive style may be spectacular to watch, but he has been given a warning from the officials for curb hopping. Same to Paul Morris. So the officials are watching very, very closely for drivers that are chopping this circuit down too much. Be very, very careful. Be accurate around here. Concrete walls either side of you. There's no runoff areas.
Oh, look at this slant up.
Really close behind the Castrol Commodore. 3 laps remaining for our race leader, Paul Radicic. Can Craig Lowndes find a way past the Enforcer? At the moment, the Castrol Commodore looks about 20 feet wide.
We know that it's a bit of a concrete canyon here, Garth, but I mean, how physical is it to drive a V8 supercar around the streets of surface?
It's actually one of the more physical tracks we go to. It's probably up there with the likes of Adelaide and Canberra as far as being tough. These street circuits tend to be like that because you do have to use the curbs to get the ultimate speed out of the car. It takes a bit out of you, and obviously with a lot of gear shifts around here also, it's one of the tougher ones. And also with the heat staying inside the concrete canyon, you definitely have to earn your money, that's for sure.
Be all right for a supreme athlete like Greg, though, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, I think so.
Radicic is the man who's out in front from Russell Ingall. And Lowndes staying in touch here. Scaife is out of the picture, though. He's a good series of car lengths further back.
That'd have to be, fitness would have to be one of your fortes, wouldn't it, Garth? Because I remember in Adelaide when everybody was getting out knackered, you looked pretty much okay.
Well, it's just one more thing that it's part of being a racing car driver nowadays. Really, you have to do a fair bit of training, and I mean, it's no secret that all the F1 guys and all the IndyCar guys are very fit. And also, we're doing a lot more middle distance and long distance races, and fitness is a very key part of that.
And the key there, I guess, is specific fitness, isn't it? It's not about just going to the gym and pumping weights for half an hour. You actually have a very controlled scientific program, don't you?
Well, you do. I mean, we work more on having muscle fitness that'll last over a 3 or 4 hour period rather than a 5-minute period. So
endurance training.
Yeah, more endurance type stuff. A lot of running, a lot of bike riding, that sort of stuff.
Paul Morris in the big Kev Commodore. You notice he's running the VS Commodore this weekend, not the VT that he recently acquired. The team looking after that car for Bathurst. There is some talk they'll run 2 cars at Bathurst as this duel continues between Anthony Tratt and muscling back past him was John Faulkner.
He almost got alongside him before, and Tyler Macklem in the Altitude TDK car, he finds a way through as well. So Anthony Tratt really under pressure here from these storming Commodores, loses 2 places as they come hammering through. 2 laps remaining for our race leader, Paul Radicic. 1 second now, the lead over Russell Ingall and Craig Lowndes in that battle for second. Mark Scaife in third.
So make it 5 race wins in a row for Ford. At this stage, young Tyler Macklem in the battle here between Faulkner and Anthony Tratt doing a good job. The TDK Ultra Tune Commodore, 23-year-old from Carlingford in New South Wales. He's had a bit of a stint in Formula Ford in recent years and enjoying only his 2nd drive in a V8 supercar, or 3rd drive, I should say.
Look at the damage on Anthony Tratt's Falcon. It's copped the short back of sides. Now he's got Cameron McConville in the Repco Commodore coming up behind him. So I wonder if he's going to fight right down to the wire with him. Great battles. We always see this in V8 supercar racing. Number of battles right throughout the pack.
Quickly to run you through the top 10, it's Radicic, Ingle, Craig Lowndes, Mark Scaife, Jason Bargwanna, Larkham, Longhurst, Steve Johnson, Craig Baird in 9th, and a good performance from Steve Reid, the Sydney sider, in 10th position in the VS Optus Commodore.
It's a great job by Tyler Mecklin in the Altitude TDK machine. Former Formula Ford racer. Hasn't had a lot of experience in V8 supercars. He's mixing it here with some known names, particularly John Faulkner in the Asia Online machine. Cameron McConville, he's a pretty experienced campaigner too. Here's Mark Larkham, Tony Longhurst and Stephen Johnson continuing his charge. He's up to 8th after starting 14th on the grid, so he's having a good afternoon. It's the battle for 6th position. Mark Larkham in 6th, Tony Longhurst in 7th, Stephen Johnson in 8th, Craig Baird's a bit further behind him, and Steve Reid in the Optus Lansvale Commodore rounds out the top 10. One more lap remaining for Paul Radicic. 4.5 kilometres of surface paradise raceway to go.
What a commanding performance from Radicic. Cleaned up in 1999 here and is certainly on course at the moment to do that again. An immense morale boost for the Dick Johnson Racing team. It started pretty much last weekend at Sandown and continuing on the streets of the Gold Coast. Second being held down by the enforcer, Russell Ingle. And then it's Lowndes and the enforcer unable to do much about the rat.
Well, Radicic, he's just got it under control, and you know, as soon as Ingle pulls in a little bit, so then Radicic pulls it out again. So I wouldn't say he's too worried, would you, Guy?
No, it looks like you say, Barry, he's just going as fast as he needs to go, and really, as soon as Russell does close it in, he just puts in a bit of a flyer and then back into conservative mode. But Russell's having to work pretty hard to keep Lowndes behind.
Lowndes is darting left, darting right.
If anybody can do it, Russell can.
Well, I don't think you'll let anyone else past after the race effort in the first race.
Yeah, got the ribbing from the Castrol Perkins team after that one, letting Radicic sneak down the inside, coming up to WorldCom S's, the first lap around in race 1.
It's quite hysterical. You know, Sean he's the guy in the team. It's hysterical here. Oh, Lowndes, hearing him have a go at Russell.
Tries to sneak around the outside, but that's not the place to be. Conrad Jupiter's turn. Russell Ingle just has to keep it cool here. One mistake, and Craig Lowndes will pounce.
Oh, look at this.
Russell's on the inside again. He's got the covering option.
Options are running out for Lowndes, though, aren't they? He is all over the back of the Castrol Commodore.
Yes.
They walk towards the Honda.
Yes,
Look at Lowndes having a go.
Oh, whoa, look at
Ingle
that.
shuts him out, and that's, I think, the way they will stay. Hats off to the rat, though. Second race here on the Gold Coast, the FAI V8 Supercar Challenge, race 2. 2 starts, 2 wins for the Shell Helix Ford driver. Ingle home in second position after an immense dogfight with Craig Lowndes.
Well, Paul Radicic creates his own little bit of history there. The 5th win for the Kiwi International on the streets of Surfers Paradise. That's a new record for the most wins by a V8 supercar driver, so he loves this place.
Keep in mind, he's done that in succession too, Mark.
Yeah. 3
last year, 2 so far this year. And folks, another one coming your way tomorrow as well.
Can he make it 3 from 3, 6 from 6? Paul Radicic is on a roll. There he is. He's only a small man in stature. When he gets behind the wheel, he is giant.
DJ.
I reckon DJ's happy.
Yeah.
You haven't seen him smiling like that all season, but in the last couple of weeks, it's a different story.
He can afford to smile too. I know he was a bit miffed throughout the season. A lot of attention being played on the Stone brothers, and felt that they were getting all the kudos for being the best engineered Ford team in the country. But the Shell Fords really fighting back at the important end of the season.
Particularly when you consider that his teammate Stephen Johnson finished a credible 7th place as well, Mark. That's one of his best efforts of the year.
That was a real charge. 14th on the grid, up to 7th. So Stephen Johnson's pushing very hard. A wave there of acknowledgement from Craig Lowndes.
Well, the old Ford fortunes have turned round a bit, haven't they?
It's extraordinary, isn't it?
Just before we get that 100 mil back for Bathurst.
Oh, you blokes never stop.
Never miss, never
stop. Well, I think what it does set up, though, Garth Tander, is a tremendous battle on Mount Panorama. This is going to be a thriller. We say it every year, but the competition is going to be tremendous.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a great race, and it is good to have Ford win, finally.
Let's recap them for you. After race 2, Radicic the man on top from Russell Ingle, Lowndes, Scaife, Bargwanna in 5th, Mark Larkham 6th, heading up a trio of Fords, the others Johnson and Tony Longhurst.
Craig Baird and Steve Reid rounded out the top 10. Rodney Forbes, so he got caught up in that collision, but he managed to survive. Neil Crompton, Paul Morris, John Faulkner, Tyler Mecklin, good performance that in the Altitude TDK machine, and Anthony Tratt to 16.
Further back, it's McConville, Romano, McDougall, and Christian de Gostin, who is a non-finisher. More from our coverage of Honda Indy in just a few moments.